this is the one thing that everyone was worried about, as the Toronto Raptors promised their fans a lot heading into this season. I'm still very bullish on this team, on this core, especially with what we just saw from Scottie Barnes in tonight's game against the Dallas Mavericks. However, there are a few things that just happened, not just in this game against the Mavericks, but over the course of the start of this season that really has Raptors fans concerned about the current makeup of this group. Could it be fixed? Certainly, but has Raptors fans very, very worried, as looking at the roster, looking at how this team is currently structured and how it's currently set up, you can see a couple things that are going on. And the one that's most glaring given the roster order, the roster construction, is the lack of depth out there in the front court. Now, there are a lot of people bagging on Jakob Poeltl, a lot of people disappointed with his performance today. I am included in that group of people that are disappointed with this performance. Now, we've seen Jakob Poeltl go some highs and lows. He's dealing with some injuries right now, so I don't think this is the Jakob Poeltl we should expect night in, night out for the Raptors this season. But it's inarguable that he was horrible in tonight's game. This is not up for debate. This is not a question. Jakob Poeltl in this one, 19 minutes of action, 4 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. So did other things half decent, but defensively was a nightmare. And 5 personal fouls, 2 of 3 from the field. But the Toronto Raptors are not putting him in a position to succeed. This is the thing that I've been nervous about. I've been saying it on the videos. I've been saying it on the streams. I've been trying to shout this as loud as I can. The Raptors lack depth in their front court. They lack the depth and they lack the personnel to play the style of defense that the Toronto Raptors are trying to do, because Jakob Poeltl is a great positional defender. He's a guy that can play drop coverage. He's not the fleetest of foot, but he's a player that can certainly be effective defensively when he's put into the right spots. He's did it with the Raptors in seasons past. He's done it with the San Antonio Spurs. I think he's generally a plus defender out there in the NBA. However, he's not an elite shot blocker. He's not a guy that's bouncing out the building and being a rim protector in that sense. He's not going to be someone that's extremely mobile. So if there's a lot of straight line drives just coming in at him, he's going to be able to switch onto a smaller guard and be effective in those areas. There are centers in the NBA that can do that. That is not Jakob Poeltl. And that is the style of defense, that the Raptors are playing right now. They are asking everyone to get absolutely into the grill of the opposing offense. They want to make things tough, want to make things difficult, increase the number of deflections out there on the defensive end. That is the style of play that Darko Rajaković wants to implement, but that ends up leading to a lot of extra straight line drives straight into Jakob Poeltl, which ends up leading to a ton of personal fouls, because you have people doing straight lines. Only way for Poeltl to stop him if he's not in perfect position is to foul. So that's an issue that the Raptors are going to have to deal with. We've seen it with Sandro Mamukelashvili as well, who has been phenomenal on the offensive end for this team, and I think he's trying. Jakob Poeltl looks a little bit zoned out of it. He was fumbling passes, fumbling catches, and stuff like that, but Mamukelashvili looks engaged, looks ready to go, but he's being forced to play that big man position, and players are just running at him. And we've seen it over the course time and time again in the first 3 games, just a ton of ticky-tack fouls getting thrown onto them. And the refs have not been helping the Raptors' case that much either. So that is what's going on there with Jakob Poeltl. Today was just a bad game all around. He's missing catches right in his chest from Scottie Barnes. He just looked zoned out of it. I'm going to throw this out as just a bad Jakob Poeltl game, hoping he just gets healthy. But that's the thing. You don't have depth out there at the front court position. If Jakob Poeltl's out, you don't really have many players to actually go to. And one guy that I was very excited to watch play tonight was Colin Murray-Boyles, who, if we take a look at his stats out there in this one, it was a tough NBA debut for CMB. Our number 9 overall selection had 0 points, had 2 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 foul in 13 minutes of action, went 0-4 from the field, and 1-0-1 from the three-point line. It didn't even hit the rim. It was the side of the backboard, that jump shot. And again, some people might be like, oh, this is a wasted pick, especially going up against Cooper Flagg. That was the point of tanking last year, to get Cooper Flagg, and we end up with a guy that scores 0 points. A lot of people are going to be over-dramatic about one game. Colin Murray-Boyles will be fine. He'll be engaged. He's coming back from an injury. Rookies that, have in and out of preseason training camp, this is what happens. We saw it with Jakob Poeltl a bit at the start of last year. Not too worried about Colin Murray-Boyles, but it was objectively a horrible game there to start off his NBA career. But again, we're throwing that out and seeing how things go. Again, you can start making real opinions on players. CMB, Jakob Poeltl, as you dive deeper into the season. One guy that I have been very just on the fence about, saying, okay, we'll see when he's healthy, when he's letting him play and stuff. Immanuel Quickley has just been an absolute disaster class on the defensive end. I think he's trying to do things, the right way. I think, his three-point shot has been in and out, but again, 1 of 7 from the three-point line in today's game, 5 of 16 from the field. I think he's trying to slash a little bit, trying to facilitate, but, if he can't play defense and he can't knock down threes, he's not like the prime Derrick Rose of finishing out there in the lane. That makes him such a plus out there in this game. He has been absolutely atrocious, specifically the last 2 games out there on the defensive end. He is letting D'Angelo Russell just absolutely pick him apart. If we're looking at the stats, D'Lo in this game, coming off the bench for this team, for the Dallas Mavericks, I can't even see him. 8-18 from the floor. He was missing a ton of open shots as well. He had 24 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and we saw it over the weekend as well, going up against Cole Anthony. Like, D'Angelo Russell should not be doing this to the Toronto Raptors. This is a guy that was barely wanted across the NBA. Yes, he has some talent and stuff, but he was hoisting up shots, and it wasn't like he was cooking. Yes, he had 1 or 2 maybe tough ones, but he was just getting by Immanuel Quickley at will, and we were promised Immanuel Quickley being a good defender, being a plus defender out there at the guard position. That's what we heard from Knicks fans. That's what we heard when we acquired him, and Immanuel Quickley's making $30 million now for the next few seasons for this team, and he has just been atrocious with his three-point shooting consistency. There are so many moments in this game where the Toronto Raptors were building up momentum, building up a run, and IQ just sells that three. 1 of 7 from the three-point line. And we know he's supposed to be a good shooter, but time and time again, what the idea of Immanuel Quickley is great, and I'd love for him to be that, and we've seen flashes of that, but he has just not been that over the last year and a half, really, in the first 3 games of the season for the Toronto Raptors. Now, again, me as a biased Shed head here, I'm a guy that says, hey, Jamal Shead might be that starting guard moving out there in the future. I'm biased. I'm not objective out there on that point, but I don't know. It's messy situation going on there at that front. But, the defense was atrocious for the Toronto Raptors in this game. The offense was really carried tonight, too, by 2 players. First one, it wasn't RJ Barrett. I wish it was RJ Barrett, but he dealt with foul trouble as well. But Scottie Barnes, and this one was, some people were trash on Scottie Barnes for this game. Scottie Barnes did everything that he could for the Toronto Raptors to be successful in this one. And 13 of 24 from the field, 35 from the three-point line, had 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, 1 steal in this game. Did have a few turnovers, that was what it was, but, Scottie Barnes overall was absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to see any bit of Scottie Barnes slander from this one. He was absolutely not the reason why we lost. Sure, there were a couple possessions here and there that were messy, but that was what it was. Our top 3 guys, like RJ Barrett was good, but just really couldn't get a rhythm going because I guess he played 28 minutes, but he only took 13 shots, had 16 points, 7 of 13 from the field. I thought RJ was at least trying out there on the defensive end, and Brandon Ingram, 22 points, 10 of 16 from the field, but again, Immanuel Quickley's taking the same amount of shots as Brandon Ingram in this game, and that is something that is, Ingram started off cold, but he is a driver of our offense. And it looked like he was trying out there on the defensive end as well, but they're not natural guys at this spot. And I get playing the over-aggressive defense, and I get that wants to be our identity. I get that's what Darko Rajaković is looking for, but you need a few things. You need a point-of-attack defender that can stay in front of a guard. If he's just going to be in too tight against people, he's going to get blown by the way Cole Anthony, these B-list point guards and D'Angelo Russell have been blowing by Immanuel Quickley right now. Imagine him going up against, a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? The Shai's just going to get 70 points on him, right? He'll break Kobe's record with 80. Right, that's something that you're going to have to deal with if you're letting Cole Anthony and D'Angelo Russell do that level of damage to you. So you need that fixed out there at the point of attack. You need a rim-protecting big man that's able to be mobile, block shots, have that sort of interior presence, Anthony Davis, Victor Wembanyama-esque. You need something like that in your back end, but the Raptors don't have that there right now. And even when you get monster performances from Scottie Barnes, if you're just giving up defense like this, right? The Mavericks went 27 of 33, 82% in the paint on the night. If the Raptors want to be an elite defensive team, as Josh Lundberg put it, you can't let that happen. And he actually had a very good quote here that I will bring up out here in this vid. Basically, he said, the Raptors chose to expedite their rebuild, and in doing so, they raised the bar. They can no longer ho-hum about a performance like that. They gave up 10 dunks, 5 layups in the second half alone. Not something that they can easily accept. Doesn't get any easier with the Spurs on deck tomorrow. Victor Wembanyama looking like one of the best players out there in the entire NBA. And that's the reality that we are dealing with right now as Toronto Raptors fans. Yes, there are some positives. Yes, I'm still optimistic. I love what Mamu's doing. I love what Scottie's doing. I love like what RJ's doing. I still like this team. But you have to figure out things with the schemes. You have to get the most out of the group that you have. And there's a lot of talent going on, but things, when you have a lot of talent, when you have a weirdly adjusted roster, it's on, of course, the players to knock down their shots, play aggressive, actually be effective on the defensive end, but it's on Darko to put people in the right places, and we'll see if that ends up happening. But if not, there will be moves coming, there will be changes happening, and we'll see what ends up happening there. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. You guys the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.